this week's Picard did a bit of a mixed bag there. Jonathan Frakes directed this, and that's probably the only reason it's halfway palatable, I think. But we opened up on, I guess it's supposed to be a Romulan refugee camp or resettlement or something or other. And it's a pretty nice little place there. A little village thing, and lovely, happy Romulans everywhere. And here comes Picard. For some reason, he's dressed like he's out for a safari. Why is he not on uniform? He's there on official business. His ship's in orbit. Why is he dressed like he's, He's dressed like an extra from Casablanca, for God's sake, with a comm badge. This makes no sense, okay? Half the time in this show, it seems like Patrick Stewart's just wearing his own clothes from home. Maybe to save on wardrobe costs. It's like, come on, people. Did you really blow that much on Discovery that you couldn't afford even to put Patrick Stewart in a freaking uniform they already have? Anyway. And we meet little, Elnor. Yeah, it's just the one letter away from Elrond. Hugo Weaving must be interested in this one here. But, yeah. And, considering it's Picard, the paper book is not necessarily that, out of left field. But he does seem a little overly jovial, I don't know. It's just, a little on the saccharine side for the scene in there. And then, of course, what do you mean they're hints of attack Mars? It's like, And also, it's like, since when it's not a bad idea to have a little secret earphone for the comm badges, so you're not broadcasting your conversation all over the place. But since when did that happen, okay? Yeah. Little explanations here and there would be nice, okay? Or at least, maybe show the headphone instead of just him putting up his ear and then what's known in the business as the CNN salute. It's like, yes, this coming in, yeah. And of course, we're on this rattletrap ship is going through hyperspace. That's not warp. I'm sorry. They're going through hyperspace. And then pointless conversation going on between, Dr. What's-Her-Face and our captain. Also trying to read a book on the bridge. Okay, piece of advice, Captain. Save it for your own quarters. You're on the bridge. Pay attention to the world around you here. But, and they have a little holodeck. So of course, what do they recreate? His vineyard back at Chateau Picard, his study back there. Because, of course, recreating like his quarters on the Enterprise or something, or his ready room, and that would be too much. That would be too expensive. No, we used this. We paid a lot of money to use this housing, the house in Napa Valley. We're going to make the most out of it. We spent a lot on this set. We use it whether it makes sense or not. So yeah, they're not going back to Earth anytime soon. Apparently, they're going to bring Earth with them. And of course, get our latest F-bomb. Granted, not from Picard, but from one of the characters. And it's like, look, if you don't like the hologram, change it. It's a hologram. It's a program. They have personality subroutines. You can go in there and alter them a little bit to make it a little less annoying. Or hire somebody who can. What the hell? But then we, come back to this, what's left of this happy little Romulan village, where they're not so happy anymore. Now they're all segregated, and it's supposed to, I think there's supposed to be an analogy to some, border, relocation, or holding facility, I guess, where we just sort of forgot about them. And I'll get the point, I'll grant them points that this Romulan senator gets up and makes a few points the audience has been making. Why would the Romulan Star Empire need the Federation's help? They got a lot of planets under their jurisdiction and plenty of ships. And just because they started to get a little more friendly after Nemesis, that doesn't mean that we can come charging in there and we'll save you. Thank you. We're quite capable of saving ourselves. Go away, Earthman. And I think they still haven't quite grasped the fact that the numbers they keep 900 million. We have about 9 billion people on this one planet. Okay. I think the Romulans could probably, manage. They have an entire fleet, okay? Even if I think just bring in a bunch of warbirds, you dump the rest of the crew somewhere in a nearby planet or somewhere in the system, and just come up with a skeleton crew, beam up as many people as you can, get the hell out of there. I think they could probably take care of it. And also, again, this whole thing about this supernova just took everyone just by such surprise. Okay. We can tell what stars are going to go supernova now with our technology and sophistication from not even having to go to the star. We could tell just by the measurements or whatever that, because a lot of it's determined by the mass of the star and whether and how it will go through the phases of expanding, contracting, when it finally expands, and if it's this goes in like Cosmos. Carl Sagan does a lot on this about what a star does at a certain mass. It's like usually it has to do with its final collapse. Like a star, like 2 or 3 times more massive than our sun. It will, expand to a red giant and then collapse down to like a white dwarf. But if a star is only like 1.5 times more massive than our sun, that's not enough to really do a controlled contraction after in its red giant phase. That's where you get the sudden collapse and it turns into a supernova. And like I said, we can tell that now. Just from spectral analysis and other measurements that we can do. And we've been doing it for about half a century. We can tell, that star's going to go supernova. Or considering the time distance, how far stars may have already gone supernova, but we can figure, at the time, that the stuff we're measuring right now, this star's going to go supernova in about 40 billion years. So, the entire premise that they were suddenly taken by surprise by the Romulan sun going supernova is complete and utter crap. And that makes it pretty hard to buy anything else from this show when your very foundation is just utter nonsense. Okay, and then when you pile on top of it more and more idiocy, like it's like as Isaac Asimov says, when it's clear that the producers and the writers know nothing about science and don't care, you cannot sit back and be a self-respecting viewer and accept it. You got to sit up. You got to step up and you got to say something. Or just utterly reject it, and encourage others to do the same for their own sanity and for the sake of the genre itself. Not accept this crap, because then it'll become standard and we'll never get anything good again. That's also kind of goes in the wise. Oh, better bad Trek than no, better no Trek than bad Trek. Because you accept the bad Trek, we'll get nothing but bad Trek, because bad Trek is easy. Bad Trek is cheap and easy to produce. Okay. Good stuff means you got to pay good writers and you got to put in the time and the money for good production, or at least decent production values. But cheap stuff, you can crank that out by the barrel load. And that's why we need to. That's why the Fandom Menace exists, guys. To keep them honest, and so they don't just go the cheap and easy route, and suddenly it's the return of Irwin Allen. Okay, at best. But the story proceeds along. Yes, we're back on the planet, and the Romulans have put up little Romulan only signs. It's like, this would have been it would have been poignant 50 years ago. But nowadays, you want to see a whites only, coloreds only sign for something, you got to go to a museum. They just don't exist anymore. Certainly not in the Western, not in the U.S., not in the Western world. And you'd probably be hard pressed to find it anywhere else, man, because the places where they do practice that sort of thing, I think they don't have the money to make this kind of science. They just beat the crap out of you. But it's kind of sure what the hell Picard was trying to prove when he, after talking with the warrior nuns, whatever, and a brief chat with the now grown-up Elnor, or let's see, I'm trying to, damn it. Yeah, Romulegolas. Yeah, that's the way Gary put it. Yeah, Legolas is Romulan cousin from a distant, But after a little chat, and kid storms off. So I don't know what the hell Picard's trying to prove by blatantly taking the Romulan's only sign, throwing it on the ground, stepping on it, and then walking into the bar. And like, what the hell do you expect? Yeah, no, they're not going to serve you. Yes, you're going to start a fight that you're going to lose because they're Romulans. They might not be as strong as a Vulcan, but they're still stronger than humans. And then so we get challenged by the Romulan senator, who, pretty legitimate points. You think that little of Romulan capability that you need to come rescue us? So yeah, and again, the question: why the hell are they using swords? Just a line of explanation, like, well, yeah, you don't have to recharge a sword or repair a sword so much unless you really break. It's pretty easy to maintain. It's the big sharp pointy thing, But I don't recall the Klingons. Sure, they have swords and batless stuff because it's fun. They like their kills up close and personal, Romulans have never shown that kind of inclination. Of course, the second they're good against the disruptor, that's when they beam out. But of course, not until after Romulegolas comes in and does the little triple somersault, the half twist, the half axle move with and chop it off the sender's head. Oh yeah, that was flashy. Yeah, at least they got the color of the blood right, although a little bright. But that's also tissue stuff. But then we get up to the ship, and of course there's a little bit of a firefight. But I couldn't quite, the whole battle between that and the old Romulan bird of prey, which suddenly sprouted a lot of little fairy lights around the edges. They kind of dolled it up quite a bit from the old days. And then out of nowhere comes a little bit of fighter. It's not a drone, but the drone implies it's unmanned, so it's not a drone. It's some kind of fighter craft. Zipping along, running interference for them, and they eventually shear off one of the wings of the bird of prey, and presumably that's the end of the warlord who was flying the thing. So, but then you get the old build up, the pilot's in trouble. He's now beam him in. It's like, and yeah, again by now it's like we saw Jerry Ryan's name, special guest or guest starring Jerry Ryan, yeah, and it's been all episode. We're about to like last minute and a half. You haven't seen 7 or 9 yet, and she's been all over the marketing, so she's going to show up at some point. So you're not fooling anybody with this he and him and all right. So yeah, she beams. Yep, there's 7. Anyway, as far as Picard and 7, we never. It's been a long time, and 2. You figure there's been it's not unreasonable at all. You figure had to have been a few conferences here and there regarding the Borg since Voyager's return. And yeah, you're going to get 7. You're going to get, formerly Locutus of Borg. Janeway's probably going to be in there too. And anybody else, and Hugh, I guess. I assume by then these former Borg that they were left behind to form their own thing, I guess they got tired of their own thing and came to Earth or whatever. So you're going to have a few ex-Borg, show up at these things, giving their speeches and extolling just how dangerous the Borg are or whatever. So I'm not really put off by the fact that 7 and Picard know each other. It would make sense because they would have to attend certain functions here. They'd be invited to the same parties. So what was it like to be a Borg? But then of course Picard, Frakes showing his little comedic side. You want me a ship, Picard? Blap. End of episode. Next episode, the teaser. That I think that because I said after the first episode, when everything goes off the rails. This is where we go off the rails and into the ravine. I think because it's like, what the hell? Everyone's dressing up for a costume party, and I guess apparently to find Maddox. So I guess Free Cloud is like a non-stop rave planet or whatever. I don't know. We'll find out next week. And I guarantee you, most of the thumbnails for those reviews, it's going to be Picard in the oh god, it's going to be the facepalm. Yeah. So this one. This is where it stops making sense, guys. Even it didn't make a whole lot of sense to begin with, but this is the end of sanity. What little there is left. Because tomorrow, next week, it's off to Wonderland, and not in a good way. It's like somebody spiked the shrooms with mescaline. So I was like, God. So, as the personal situation, a little later today, I'm going to be going over, taking stuff down to Orlando to set up the Moto 6 down there. Also tend to little sis because her truck got slightly damaged. I think it's enough that it could throw off her move, because she's planning on moving out herself once she get things in. This is going to throw things off a bit on that possibly, but yeah, she needs someone to be there with me. So that's why I'm going to get this out now, or at least get it recorded, probably be uploaded later. But as always, PayPal, Patreon down below, and we will talk at you later.